Hey YouTube, as I said I would, I am going to start the YouTube challenge videos that I am, only 2 months behind on. You gotta love it. I got the baby, she's sleeping. I think she's starting to try to sleep through the night because she's going to sleep at like 9 or 10 at night, and she woke up once to eat like an hour ago and went right back to sleep. But where she's sleeping so long, I feel like I don't get to hold her at all. So I'm holding her. It's like 4:30 in the morning, and I'm here all alone, which hasn't happened in almost 2 months. So I'm like, fuck it, I'm gonna make videos, and I need to catch up on these because I'm 2 months behind. So, without further ado, the YouTube challenge video for week 1 was how did you find your path? I think I know I've talked about this at least a little bit, and sorry, this pillow is killing my ass. Anyway, I know that I've talked about this at least a little bit. How, I was Christian when I was little, and there was just always something that just didn't ring true about it with me, and, certain things especially really bothered me, and, yeah, sorry, blanked out for a minute, and I had quit going to church 2 years before I stumbled upon my mom's Scott Cunningham books. And it wasn't like, I was searching for something, but I was a person who has always needed, not necessarily religion in the dogmatic sense, but I always needed God's deity, something that I could have that kind of connection with. I just didn't, as a child even, really connect with the Christian concept of God. I didn't believe that God was this punishing, severe, sort of very, very serious, very removed from humanity sort of thing. Because to me, it didn't make any sense. Like, we were made in His image, so why was He severe and, removed from human problems or human personality traits or what have you, if we were supposed to be part or a reflection of Him? And of course, there was Jesus, and Jesus did live in a human body and did live 30 years of a human life, or 32 years of a human life. But even in the New Testament, God didn't really seem to change, because one theory is that Jesus was the human incarnation of God, not just the Son of God, but God Himself in human form. If that were the case, though, God did not seem to be really all that changed by that experience. God did not seem to be more lenient, more understanding, more human like Himself, did not really seem to possess any more human qualities once He was again God and no longer Jesus. So, it really didn't seem to impact God all that much at all. And I just didn't connect with that version of a God. Not that there is anything wrong with it for people who do connect with that version of God, but for me, it just didn't seem to make sense. To me, if there are deities, why wouldn't they have love affairs and heartbreak and things that make them laugh and things that piss them off? And how can my gods understand me and my life and that sort of thing, guide me through the situations that I go through if they have absolutely no concept of this shit themselves? How can I pray for love to a God that really doesn't know my concept of love, I guess? And I was always really fascinated by gods of myth, especially Greek gods. I probably knew more about Greek gods going in than any other pantheon. In fact, I know I did. I always kind of saw, and no disrespect to people who follow the Roman pantheon, but I always sort of saw Roman gods as a ripoff of Greek gods, because they really were. And I can't remember, I think the first time I read about Norse gods, I was like 13 or 14, so I was already pagan. I had never read anything at all about Celtic gods, Hindu gods, no. I pretty much just read my Greek myths, and I really, really loved Greek gods. So, I could see something there that I could identify with. I just, as a small child, didn't realize that those gods could still be worshipped, let alone that they actually were. And then when my mother became pagan, I don't know, in order to explain to you how I related to that situation, I would have to explain to you my relationship between me and my mother, and that would be a 6 or 8 hour long video in itself, but I just didn't really take it seriously. I'll leave it at that. And, I didn't even think to look in that direction, especially with me being Christian when she became pagan, because it was just a whole, you're going to hell, whatever, sort of attitude that I had toward it. And again, don't judge me for that attitude. You would have to know my relationship with my mother, and I'm not going into that. So, I can't even remember what made me, I think I was homesick from school, which was a pretty common occurrence because I've always been sick. And I had already read every book that I had, so I was kind of bored, and I don't know why I was in my mom's room, because I never went in there really, but she had one of her Scott Cunningham books laying on the floor, and I guess because I was bored or for shits and giggles or whatever, I picked it up and kind of started looking through it, and it really piqued my interest, like, immediately, once I actually opened it up and started kind of flipping through it. And then I started to read a page or two or whatever, just to see what was up, and I don't know, it was like, from that moment, it was a sense of, this is it, this is what I've been looking for. I mean, Wicca had everything that was lacking for me, given what I knew and what I had experienced with past life memories, hearing the dead, never hearing a dead person say, hey, I'm talking to you from hell, and that sort of thing. It had what I was looking for, a goddess, first and foremost a goddess, because the whole Christian attitude toward women in general just never jived well with me. And the fact that Mary was so obviously, to me, as important as Jesus, but yet she only got respect as being Jesus' mother and not as a deity of sorts in her own right. Like, when I prayed as a child, a lot of the time I prayed to Mary. I had a little statue of the Virgin Mary that I got from a flea market for like $1, $2 or whatever, that when I was 5 or 6, I would carry it around with me like a doll. I mean, I very much connected more with Mary than I did with Jesus. So the fact that there was this religion that had goddesses and that the goddesses were just as important as the gods. That really, really resonated with me. And I loved it from that first taste. I loved it, all of it. And then the idea of magic, which at first, I don't know how, I think it was the religious side at first that drew me in more than anything. It wasn't until I fully grasped the fact that with magic at your disposal, you truly did have your own destiny in the palm of your hand, that I really started, I don't know, putting magic on the same pedestal, I guess, as the religious aspect of it. Before that, it was just, okay, yeah, there's magic. You know, it was not something that I focused on as much. Wasn't that I didn't appreciate what it could be or anything like that. It was just that I didn't understand its importance like that. I was wondering where in the hell y'all went to.
Well, can you walk up your room real quick?
Sorry about that. Code picked up perfect time to walk in. Anyway, yeah, so it was kind of a, I think somebody's pooping, maybe. It was kind of the perfect combination of almost right place, right time as far as religions go, I guess. Like, you know, I was in between religions and walked into a smoke-filled bar. What was that? But yeah, I just happened upon the right book, because I think if I would have found one of the older style complex books on Wicca, or more complex, or what have you, type of manuscript, I probably wouldn't even have paid it any mind. But Scott Cunningham is like Silver Ravenwolf in the sense that it's pretty easy to follow. And so it was that, it was the content, the goddess, the information, or the belief in reincarnation and spirits and all of that. It was everything. And it was luck that directly led me to my path. So there's the extended version of how I found my path. And yeah, blessed be.